Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm having some those who are on Zoom. I'm not sure if you can see us, but if you can hear us, we've had some technical difficulties. We are still trying to troubleshoot. We have some great groups of students here this evening that we don't want to have to wait too much longer, so we're going to get started for the time being while we wait for the rest of the meeting to get live feed going. So we're gonna I'm gonna call the Hingham School Committee meeting to order. Just a second, 1 second, our committee is signaling to us. And we're going to continue and let them do what they need to do. I'm going to call the school committee meeting to order. It is 6:45 on January 12th, 2026. We have, in the first meeting of the year, we have the privilege of being at the Hingham Middle School here tonight. Just going to read this brief statement. This meeting is being held remotely or in person as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 and all other applicable laws, particularly amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all other communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law.
If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please
notify
notify
the
the chair
chair
at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass
General
Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants in said recording. Anyone else recording the meeting other than the media? Yeah, sure. Yep, as long as you let us know, that's perfectly fine. Thank you very much. All right, tonight I am joined by my colleagues, John Mooney, Tim Miller-Dempsey, Allie Anderson, Michelle Ayer, and Carrie Lee. We are going to jump right into our first order. We're going to start right with, if everyone's okay with that, for the agenda item. So we're going to go right to 5.1 and receive a presentation by the Hingham Middle School Council.
Okay, I'm thrilled to welcome this evening our All-Star Middle School Council, who has been incredibly active this year. We're really proud of all of the community building and service that they've done this year. And so I'd like to invite our student speaker up to the podium, and I will loan you my microphone for the presentation. So come on up.
And we have it on our computers so we can follow along, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having us here. My name is Grayson Tien, and I am the president of Student Council. Here is a little bit about us. We are a self-led group of middle school students who strive to make a difference in our community. We average about 35 to 40 students per meeting, and there are about 75 people total in the club. Student Council is separated into 5 different committees that all have slightly different jobs. They will soon share about what each committee does. Student Council has made an impact on many people, including myself. Seeing how our school comes together to make a difference in our community always brings a smile to my face.
Hi, I'm Ella Gates, and I'm the Secretary of Student Council. The reason the Ambassador Club changed to Student Council was because, firstly, we wanted to be more connected to the high school in the way that they ran their student council. Also, we wanted to create a club that was more run by the students rather than it being run 50-50 by the students and the teachers.
Hi, I'm Autumn Grasky, and I'm treasurer. And then more reasons why we changed student from ambassador to student council was we also keep our core objects and scheduled activities remain unchanged.
but we also changed the dynamics of our leadership structure, which has evolved to be more broad and more student involved.
Hello, I'm Layla Barnes and I am Head of Staff Appreciation. My committee focuses on making sure our faculty knows how much we appreciate them. So far, we organized an event where students could write why they're grateful for a staff member by writing it down on a fall-themed leaf. We later sent them home with the teachers they were made for. Here are some examples of the leaves, and I'll read one. To Mr. Flo, thank you for being such a nice and fun teacher to your class. Your class is so interesting. Signed by the student.
Hi, I'm Sarah Maroney.
And I'm Meg Jessen, and we are the heads of community service.
Our jobs as heads is to connect students with ways to make a difference, like food drives, charity events, and other volunteer opportunities.
Our most recent food drive, we collected more than 1,500 food items for the Hingham Food Pantry.
As heads, we learned that no matter how big or small our committee is, with a few dedicated people, we can make a difference in our community.
Hi, my name is Abby O'Leary and I'm the head of the Spirit Committee. Me and the others in the committee work to make school more fun and inclusive by organizing Spirit Days and weeks for everyone to participate in. So far, we have organized 2 Spirit Weeks with days like Tropical Day, PJ Day, Jersey Day, Mismatch Day, and many more. The Spirit Committee has also helped organize Pink Day to raise money for breast cancer, and our job was to encourage everyone to participate and go all out to support the good cause. The Spirit Committee is fun and excited and helps bring everybody together.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Dorn and I'm one of the co-heads of public relations. Our main task is to advertise all the great events we do to the students, teachers, administration, and community. A couple ways we do this is by making posters, writing announcements, giving updates on student council to the teachers. We also take photos of the special events we do and post them to the HMS Connection.
Hi, my name is Leah Massey and I'm the head of fundraising committee. In the fundraising committee, we work together to organize and support projects for activities and causes chosen by the student council. So far, we have coordinated the HMS's annual Pink Day, raising nearly $2,000 for breast cancer awareness. Before the day could start, we had to reach out to the director of Positively for Pink, letting her know we were raising money for her foundation. After collecting money, we went through the process of counting it all and then checking it to make sure our numbers were correct. We then made sure and contacted the director again to send out the money and finalize the fundraiser. This is all part of making a difference by giving back to our community.
While putting in the hard work, we made lifetime bonds with our peers and learned how to adapt to challenges and work together to fill our roles as committee heads.
All of us are not heads for the recognition or applause, but for the real cause and difference we can make.
Student council has impacted me because I formed new friendships and learned how to be a leader.
For me, student council has been a huge responsibility, and I couldn't be more proud of the work that we do each and every day.
Being in this position makes me feel more confident and more as a student leader.
Thank you so much for having us.
I wanted to say a special thank you to our students, but also to our 2 faculty advisors, Mr. Tim Galvin and Ms. Sarah Cassidy, who have done a terrific job. And we can see that the sense of civics and community and service is alive and well at Hingham Middle School. And I believe all of these students are 8th graders, almost some 7th and 8th graders. So they'll be taking all of these great experiences off to the high school, and they'll continue to grow and build on their leadership. So again, couldn't be more thrilled and more grateful for you joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you all of you for taking the time out of your busy evening. I know you probably have some schoolwork or some other activities, so don't feel like you have to stay for the rest of the meeting. You are welcome to stay if you want. But I know that the high school will be very excited to have you guys join them the next year for the 8th graders and the 7th graders. So thank you for sharing with us tonight.
You're welcome to stay for all of the other fun agenda items this evening, but you were definitely the highlight. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erin.
They want to come back once we're doing the budget meeting.
Yes, absolutely,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. Yeah.
Need some fundraising expertise.
Middle of year data,
Listening to their presentation and the way that they formed the student council in sort of to mirror the high school thing, I was thinking it might be a good opportunity to try to connect Leah Viola at the high school with the advisors here and maybe set up some joint meetings with the student advisory council and the student council.
Sure. Yeah.
And just get a little more middle school impact.
That's a
Okay.
great idea. And
Okay.
we've been trying to do that across all of our clubs to create opportunities for clubs at the high school to meet with their partners at the middle school. So that's a terrific suggestion. Thank you.
Why don't we just go to do 2.1, approval of minutes. Get some housekeeping items out of the way.
Are you ready for a motion?
I am.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the December 15th, 2025 school committee meeting.
I will second. Okay, is there any discussion? Any questions? No? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? All right, minutes are approved. And I am going to maybe get a check-in with Harvard Media. Are we up and running yet? I don't think so. Okay. While we're waiting, I think we'll do a 10-minute recess.
Sure.
All right, so I will move to do a 10-minute recess. For those of you who are on Zoom, I really apologize for the wait tonight, but we're trying to get everything on for a live feed so that you are able to get good audio and get the presentations that we have coming up. So you're able to be engaged with the meeting tonight. So I moved to recess for the next 10 minutes.
Give me a second, or is that a vote? I think we have to vote. Yes? I think so.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll be back in 10 minutes. We are back from recess. I just want to give a shout out to Joe Andrews for coming down tonight to just kind of help us out, and thank you to Harvard Media for troubleshooting tonight to make sure that we could get online. So we are going to jump right back into our agenda. We are at agenda item number 3, which is the superintendent's report. So
Thank you, Jen.
Roberts.
So this week we have a very busy week with a lot of night events, including this Thursday, the 15th. We have our annual kindergarten information night. The elementary team is looking forward to welcoming prospective kindergarten families, and the meeting will be held here at the middle school in the auditorium at 6:30 p.m. and will include presentations by each of our elementary principals and our kindergarten liaison teachers. And the principals and kindergarten teachers will provide an overview of a typical kindergarten day, review some information about the curriculum, and discuss the Hingham approach to student-centered learning. So please spread the word for that event. Last week on Thursday, January 8th, the middle school and high school musicians from our small ensembles program performed their annual winter concert. Performances included the middle school and high school jazz bands, middle school and high school chamber players, and the high school chamber winds ensemble. My personal favorite was a tribute to Trombone Shorty, which took down the house. And many thanks to the middle school and high school music teams for coordinating the special event. I wanted to thank Erica Pollard and the volunteer HPS educators who organized a terrific technology symposium for secondary educators on the January 7th early release. The lead educators last summer participated in a series of workshops hosted by ed tech teachers, and these leaders then used those trainings to prepare some custom PD for their colleagues. So we're grateful to our educators for what I'm calling their cautiously curious approach to AI education, and also grateful Mass DESE has put out some terrific new resources and ongoing trainings to help education professionals learn more about the AI space. I wanted to thank our grade 10 health educators who this month have shepherded our grade 10 health students through the CPR certification process. At HHS, all health students are afforded the opportunity to learn these important life-saving skills during their health class to the benefit of all of us in the community. So thank you to Karen Beatty for her leadership and the rest of the health team for their work on this important initiative. Wanted to share my thanks with the elementary math team who last Friday shared a demonstration of our new Bridges math program pilot for the Alltown PTO. The math specialist demonstrated a special feature of the program called Number Corner, which is an interactive approach to skill building of concepts such as computational fluency, estimation and counting, place value measurement, and data practices. So we appreciate the ongoing collaborative work of the math specialists and the elementary teachers who have been involved in the pilot. And then finally, for the school committee, I have enclosed in your packets this evening a copy of the FY27 budget season calendar. Our budget season will officially kick off on Monday, January 26th. And a reminder to the community that, as has been our practice in past years, all materials for each budget presentation will be posted to our HPS budget webpage, and look forward to those conversations later this month.
Moving on, we have item number 4, which is communications. 4.1, communications received by the superintendent. None. 4.2 is communications. We have none. And then 4.3 is other communications. Does anyone in the committee have any other communications? Seeing none, we will move on to new business. We have already covered 5.1, and we will move on to 5.2, which is to receive a facilities update. Matt Meehan is joining us to the podium as a presentation to give us. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. Matthew Meehan, Director of Facilities for Hingham Public Schools. Today we're going to be talking about 2 schools, not too many, but East Elementary and Hingham High School, 2 of the schools that have had a lot of intervention over the last few months. Let's start with East Elementary. East Elementary has quite a few of these rooftop units. They're called energy recovery units, and they are super beneficial. They preheat the fresh air supply. They reduce humidity. They provide 100% of the filtered air through our building. Our building is closed most of the time to fresh air, so we try to keep the windows closed. These are important. They increase efficiency incredibly, and they save us a lot of money. There are some issues with about 4 of them. The issue is water. So not only water from the outside, which is rare, but water from the inside, condensation. So that's airflow. This is looking down one of the rooftop units on the roof. And yes, that is water at the bottom. That was the most recent intervention. We were called in for a leak. We responded right away and we cleared it. But there are condensation issues. There are weather and climate issues. Our climate is mainly being close to the coast. So that fresh salt air that moves in every single day has a profound impact on a lot of the equipment, not only on our roofs, but in our schools. And finally, we have aging equipment. Can you hit full screen on that? Oh, is that full screen? Let's take a closer look. This is a floor. This is a blueprint. This is an as-built of all of the HVAC equipment. This is what it looks like in real life. We removed the ceiling tiles from one of the hallways. So it's packed with HVAC equipment, with technology, with pipes. When we initially started our scans for damaged walls, we found one area. It's right here. We opened up the ceiling tile right away. Almost immediately, we dried it out. But there's still some areas that we had of concern. So we called in a specialist, an environmental consultant, and a remediation specialist, and we started work right away. What's the big deal with this? Well, it can be pretty big. The biggest thing is it can cause FF&E problems. Okay, so that's simple. Doors don't open, walls expand, the paint looks bad. It can cause mold and mildew. That's a little bit serious. That can cause air quality issues. We'll talk about that a little bit more down the road. It can cause electrical hazards. These should all be familiar. This is very similar to a roof leak. Any water intrusion in the building, whether it's HVAC or the roof, can cause issues. Increased utility bills. This is a little bit different. Water saturated HVAC is different. It doesn't work as efficiently. And finally, we have to close up hallways or classrooms. It could cause educational disruption. We haven't had that too much yet. Our solutions in this case, especially at East, was full containment. We had it scanned by an environmental consultant. We had it contained. We removed any kind of issues with the ceiling tile and anything else that we saw, especially insulation. We hired a professional cleaner, 25 years of mold remediation. We replaced any kind of mold issues that were there. We remediated it with specialized, I wouldn't even call it chemicals, but they are a derivative of thyme, the spice that we use. It is a very effective growth inhibitor of mold, and it kills 99.9% of it within 3 minutes.
That's why they say time is the most important resource in a school.
It absolutely is, especially in my case. And we sealed and inhibited anything else from growing. So we can't get much better than that. We have some partners with this, Bostonian, Spindle City Insulation. Our East custodians, especially Jimmy and Kim, were amazing. Kim actually worked for a remediation company. She knew exactly what to do, especially with containment and with using specialized equipment. So we were very lucky with that. The results are brand new hallways, new ceiling tile, completely remediated, and very effective clean air. Our air quality is excellent. This is post intervention. I'll call it intervention, but post project results. As you can see, any action with any kind of spores of mold would be about 1,000. So 1,000 spores per cubic meter would result in our environmental consultant saying, you need to do a lot of work. We're only at about 480 at the highest. And even then, we are continuing to take steps to make sure that that's even lower. Most of our school at East is extremely low. Very comparable to the outside air, 350. So we're doing very well with our results, which were pretty immediate, coming to trying to get rid of this mold issue as we saw it coming. Just a note, the insulation removal was actually instituted way back in July. The consultant that we were working with, Spindle City, said, you should wait until the winter when it's much drier. If you pull down the insulation now, you may have an issue spreading across the school. Let's wait. You don't have a lot of issues right now. Let's wait until the winter when it's very dry. So that's what we did. So this was on schedule for a very long time. So our results are very good, and we're going to actually continue monitoring. We've hired our environmental consultant to continually check the entire school just to ensure nothing else is going on. But the air quality right now is quite good. And we checked many areas of the school, not just the areas that were scanned and found to be problematic. I wanted to talk about the high school. There's been a lot of issues with the boiler. Let's take a closer look. Our boilers are 10 million or so BTU boilers. They are enormous. We have two of them. One of them can heat the entire school. Basically, for the audience at home, you have a boiler that fires flame through a giant tube, and then the exhaust goes through smaller tubes and heats water around it. These are our boilers. They were opened up way back in early October as a preventative maintenance issue. Preventative maintenance routine that we do every few years. And they found quite a lot of cracks. The cracks are in the fire tubes. As you can see, they're caused by a couple of different issues, but that little tiny crack might be like, well, what's the big deal? It's not that big. It can cause significant issues. One of them is steam. Steam in a boiler that is not supposed to have steam can be catastrophic. So we have to be very careful of it. What we had in this case, we replaced about 53 tubes, the smaller tubes, but we also found issues in the larger tube, which is called the Morris tube. And we had to replace those quite quickly. They're called emergency repairs. Our partners, IBS, were fantastic. We also found an issue in a main valve. That valve was operating, however, it was corroding, and it was continually not allowing a lot of water to flow between the two boilers. That could be an issue. As one goes on and shuts off, the other one goes on, it might be too cold, which would cause more issues between the two. So the big problem with these things is the boiler shut down. Have we had that issue? Absolutely. In late October, the building was cold. It was probably down to mid 60s. That's not very good for educational learning. We were trying very quickly to make sure that those things were rectified. It could have a production loss, which is mainly the boiler issue. These last two are huge. It could have combustion issues. The Morris tube, the main firing tube, was leaking. That could cause the fire tube not to combust at the proper level. And of course, we'll never have this because we instituted things that would make sure that this didn't happen. We could have a boiler explosion. Part of the reason why we showed that picture of the steam, that was found during our regular routines that we've instituted moving forward. Our solutions, this picture is great. It shows the magnitude of our boilers. They're huge. We had thorough inspections done by the state and by local consultants. We rebuilt the interior of our boilers. This was all preventative. This was before the boilers were online, so it was a good thing that happened. We replaced the valve. We are currently conducting preventative repairs. So we're putting repairs in place that will prevent these things, hopefully, from happening in the future. And we're pretty confident they will. We instituted a boiler routine. So yes, the custodians have to go down every couple of hours and check the boilers. I have them checking at least 6 or 7 different things. Basically, what it has them do is the boiler on? Is the temperature right? Is the pressure right? If it isn't, they call me immediately and I head in. And if I can't resolve it, I call my specialists in. So that's how we found the steam. It's a very good thing to do. Industrial Burner has been a great ally with us. They are our consultants. and our vendor that we use to repair these things, they could say, oh, you need new boilers. They don't. They just say, this is what you need to do. Let's move forward with this. They're very good with kind of helping us along. They've been there for about 20 years, so they know these boilers very well. Now, for some good news. We have a theatrical lighting, rigging, and sound project that is going on in the auditorium. It's going very well. It's on schedule. They have demolition of all the obsolete lighting, not only in the seating area, but also on stage. There's a new electrical service that's going in. So this is a full rehab of electrical and lighting services. They have also inventoried all the new lighting that's coming in. The rigging is going to be redone, and there's a new sound system going in. So very positive for the high school as well. Does anybody have any questions?
Why don't we do questions from the committee on East first, and then we'll do questions from the community on East, and then we'll do high school?
Yes.
We break it down that way. How's that
Absolutely.
sound? All right. So I will ask anyone on the committee if you have any questions related to the update that Matt gave on East. Kelly?
Thank you. Thank you for all your work. I know that was a lot over Christmas, and it looks like we're in a good place. I just was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the energy recovery units and kind of the plan moving ahead so that this doesn't happen again.
Yes. So my maintenance team has identified several issues with two of them, and we've addressed them immediately. We found leaks coming from a prevailing wind side of the ERUs. There's doors on them, so you can maintain them. And two of the doors were not functioning properly. We sealed them, sealing them temporarily, and you can still access them. However, stormy weather, which we just recently had, after we sealed them, we didn't have any indication of water intrusion, so that is good. Moving forward, the ERUs have been slated to be replaced at East, and they are on the capital list. They have been on the capital list for a while. We are actually bumping them up, not only because of the water intrusion issue, but also because we have been replacing motors, wheels, belts, fans. Many of the components of the ERUs have been being replaced quite often within the last 2 years. So we are actually moving that up to be replaced within the next 2 years. The cost is not as significant as replacing a rooftop unit or other HVAC units. These only take the air inside of the building, condition it, and put it back in the building and provide fresh air. It's much different than a lot of the HVAC units that we see at the high school. So we are bumping it up. We are asking for capital to replace all of the ERUs at East as quickly as possible.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is there a reason why number 3 is fine and not the other are? Like, what's so special?
Number 3 was extensively repaired about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Including the entire wheel assembly. So that one seems to be fine within my tenure as being here. Yes. 4 and 5, I listed those. They have been fine. But previously, they were not. They actually allowed a lot of water to seep through into the building. That was about 3 or 4 years ago. That's why I listed those. But they continue to be okay now.
And when you say you'll continue to monitor and continue to check in throughout the year, what's the process for that exactly?
So if you're talking about air monitoring and environmental testing, we have hired the consultant to not only do what he currently did or they currently did, which was send in a team when we want them. We actually asked them to continually monitor the air throughout the entire building for the rest of the year. So the next step is to test the entire building, each wing, each floor, each office area. They're testing actually, if you put a monitor in the center of this room, it would take the whole room and pull the air into it. It's quite extensive. So we'll be able to get results quite quickly. If you put a monitor in the cafeteria, it will take the entire cafeteria and we'll be able to get a result. And then we're going to continue that until we are sure the building is stable, that there's no further water intrusions. And then in February break and during the summer, we are going to examine the areas that have been water damaged in the past. Doesn't mean that there's mold growth, because drying quickly and getting to it quickly is very effective. What it means is they're going to explore that area and see how they can treat it, if they even see anything. The important thing to know is that when we called in the environmental specialist, he only found a very small percentage of the building, 2 or 3 areas of the building, that were possibly damaged by water and that needed to be explored further. Either way, I told them I want them completely repaired and remediated, so that they're remediated right now in the 3rd grade wing and the 5th grade wing. We're going to explore that further during February break. They're going to look at those very closely, and then in the summer, more closely, to see if we have to do any further remediation or even replacement of those areas. Yep.
I'm just curious, and I thank you for the air quality chart. What drives the disparity, though, between the air quality, say, in the hallway 121 and the grade 3 and 5 classrooms?
Great question. I actually thought of that myself. The only thing I can think of is if you look at the 3rd and 5th grade hallways, they're a little bit higher. Not necessarily ceilings, but the amount of people that are in it.
Oh, okay.
So you're bringing in these large populations of people who are dragging in things from their home or playing in the woods, or, where if you look at the administrative area and you plant something in there, the intrusions are lower. That being said, I have to ask the consultant that. I did question that, and he goes, well, we have to look into that further. The other thing is water intrusion. So if there's a lot of water intrusion in an area, there might be a higher mold count or mold spore count per cubic meter. As those mold spore counts go up, because we do know those ERUs were leaking a little bit, not a little bit, they were leaking a lot. We responded immediately and dried the area out. However, the mold spore count will go up. If we didn't respond, the mold spore count would be through the roof. We have specialized equipment. You can talk to East personnel. They're annoying. They're loud. They have water tubes going everywhere. We dry the place out. And that's really important for mold because they can't live without water. I think if you talk to the principals or secretaries or any of the guidance counselors, we had an issue with water over the summer, and we dragged in industrial size. We have our own industrial size dehumidifiers. They pull 16 liters of water an hour. It gets pretty dry. And then we called in a specialist to test it. Well, if we didn't do that, the mold spore count would be much higher. So it is an indication of these might be problemed areas. Are they areas where the air quality is impacted and might affect somebody? Not even close. 5,000 spores per cubic meter is when air quality could be problematic for humans. Corrective action is 1,000. That's why I wanted to show that chart. We're okay. The reason why is because our custodians at East are responsive. They know what they're doing. They open up ceiling tiles. Maintenance comes there. We dry it out. We get air purifiers in. We are responding well. And we have our consultants who follow up. If we didn't do that and we just went, whatever, it's just a little water, it would be a problem. We're maintaining it and the data is showing it.
Questions? No? All right. Anyone in the audience, questions? Oh, I'm sorry. If you wouldn't mind just giving your name, and address. Do you want to just go up to the microphone just so that they won't be able to hear you? Sorry, they can't hear you. There's one right here that you can come up to. Thank you.
Sorry. Kelly Newton, 16 Chamberlain Run in Hingham. I'm an East family.
Thanks.
So the continuous monitoring that you referenced, so is it going to sit in the building at all times? Are they going to come once a month, once a week? How's that work?
Yeah, great question. I don't know how to continuously monitor it because what they do is they leave a air sampler in a room for a little bit and they take it and they go back and they analyze it and then they give me the results. It takes about a day. So my plan is to speak to our environmental consultants and ask him, what do you think would be appropriate? Because he is the one that is, he's the hygienist, and then we have interventionists. And they have actually been consulting and working together with me to make sure that the building is safe. My plan is to do the entire building, get samples across the whole building, find out what they are, release them, and tell everybody, hey, this is what they are, and this is our plan moving forward. He will inform how we should move forward. Should we continue to monitor an area that is extremely high, near 1,000? Absolutely. If it's lower and there's no water intrusion, no. Because I think what we're looking for is making sure that we're keeping an area the air quality in an area safe. Mold on a surface you can find absolutely everywhere in this room, anywhere and any. And those are the things that are concerning too, if they pass a threshold and we take care of them. The air quality is the one that worries me the most, and I'm glad we saw our results. They're not even close to actionable. I will ask him to do the whole building. We already have a plan for him to do that. I've asked him to do that, and he's like, yep, absolutely. I'll do it anytime you want. I plan to have him do that probably at the end of this month, and then moving forward 3 months from then, based on the information that he gives us from the first report. If he sees some kind of spike, maybe third grade, maybe somewhere else, then I will ask him to focus on that.
And was any testing done over the fall after the leaks occurred?
No.
Okay.
No, there wasn't. That's a great question. I think there was a lot of information moving out to the public. And information is always very important for principals and for people like me in my role to get that information immediately. My team is a response team as well as preventative. My role is to do both. As an example, we had a flood at the high school. It was from an HVAC unit. It broke. Water was pouring everywhere. I had 10 people there immediately with our equipment. It dried out. We had it tested. It was totally fine. I think that we need to look at the data, get the information. If there's a concern, whether it's from an employee, they need to let us know and the principal know right away. And I think any principal would say, yeah, they respond immediately. If there's water coming through a roof, we're there. The custodians are great. They're like, the ceiling's falling through. And we come and there's like one ceiling tile. And I'm like, I don't care. It's great. We got it. And we get on it and we do what we're supposed to do.
I guess what doesn't sit well with me is that, like December 9th, I sent an email to everyone in this room asking if it was safe for my son to be in the building, and no one could answer that question because there had been wet ceiling tiles and insulation for months at that point. And I'm very shocked that someone would say to wait till winter to take out porous materials that have been dampened. And I mean, we all saw the pictures of the leaks. They were pretty excessive. They were, as you said, there was an issue. So I guess the transparency going forward for parents like me, like I felt like my agency was taken away to make a decision for my child based on his health situation, because I didn't know that he was sitting underneath an area. And again, it shook out okay because the air quality tests came out the way they did, but there was a chance it wasn't going to shake out okay. And I had no clue that was the case. And I would have 100% not had him in the building for the fall. So I guess as a parent, like, how do we know what's going on in the building, and how do we know how to make the right decisions for our kids when we don't know what's kind of going on? Is there a transparency plan?
My job is really, if a principal doesn't complain, I feel like I'm doing my job. Maybe I need to, like Jonathan, there was a roof leak. I was on it. So he's aware, and then he can go, hey, there was a roof leak. By the way, it's all set. Yeah. I think that communication piece was important. I think that communication this way was sent out in a different venue, and which is fine. However, the other part of that was we were always responding to these things. And I think that's the piece that parents missed, especially you. And I apologize for that, because we responded to every single issue that we were aware of. And I think that maybe I need to do a better job of getting with the principals and saying, hey, by the way, this is what we did. It seems to be rectified. We're monitoring it. We don't have any more issues. I don't think Jonathan knew that. He knew about, hey, Matt, the rug's still wet. Got it. I'm going to call in the professionals. Got it. But, I pride myself on making sure that the educational environment is not interrupted. I used to be a principal. I used to be a teacher. I used to be an educator. I get it. I think I need to do a better job of going to the principals and saying, these are all the things we did. There's a leak in your roof, and this is what happened.
Voice is so loud, you don't need to do that. I don't know if you remember, at the beginning of the school year, before school starts, and it's like something we've been doing from time we've been here, we actually go to every single building and we go through, before school starts, we review every single building to see what are the issues in the building, what are the things that we need to make sure are in place before school starts. And one of the things that we did when we did that tour was we did look at the leaks at East, and we did have a plan in terms of what Matt, Jonathan, and I spoke about what the plan was for those leaks. So it wasn't a case of us not being aware or taking action about it, or even knowing about that information. And in terms of that, at the beginning of the school year as well, Matt also presented a detailed facilities presentation about what were the issues and what were the findings for the beginning of the school year as well. So that is normally how that would have been communicated to the community in terms of what were the findings, what are we doing about it, etc.
I tried to go online and look up the old presentations and I couldn't find.
Right. So
anything on
what we can do going forward, to your point, would be from that presentation, maybe at the beginning of the school year, have it on our website so that it can be available to families as well.
That would be great.
Okay.
And then lastly, since the ERUs are leaking and maybe the ceiling that you did is working, does it make sense to not, like, can we just open the windows and not use the ERUs? Well, I think the goal is for them not to open the windows because then but if we think they're going to leak and we're going to have to do this again, like, how confident are we that when the AC units go on in the spring, that we're not going to have the same issue and then have to replace again?
My confidence is fairly high that coming this summer, we will not have the same condensation issues of leaking in the building that we've had in the past. We've discovered within the last 6 months issues that have not been resolved for quite some time, including the chiller. The chiller runs that cool water through the building in the summer that squeezes out all that moisture that was not functioning properly. We didn't know that. The building was running very humid, but we didn't know why. In the winter, we found out there was a heating issue. If there's no heat, the moisture remains. We discovered the heating issue was an airflow issue. That's an ERU issue. That has been resolved. And then I told our consultant, our vendor, our IBS people to go through every single unit on the roof and make sure they're fully functional right now. And they did that. That being said, we have already set up preventative maintenance prior to, well, it's going to be in April, prior to May, that will go through the entire cooling system of the building and make sure that it is functioning properly. I cannot predict any kind of storms or roof leaks or ERU leaks or anything else. All I can say is this: I am highly confident that my team, especially the maintenance team and custodial team, will be on it within minutes, which means that my team, the maintenance team, will be there within an hour with equipment that is properly matched to dry out any system at any time. And we'll have a team that will make sure we restore that system within 12 hours. And then we will test the air to make sure it's there too. Some buildings are wide open, the older buildings. East is a closed system. It is not supposed to have open doors or windows. It is supposed to be chilled air, removing humidity. It was not functioning that way. It is now. We will make sure it functions that way further. If it doesn't, we will make sure it does until those things are removed and fixed and capital moves through.
And if there are leaks in the spring, is there a communication plan set up so that?
No, I think Jonathan is going to be.
Yeah.
Me and Jonathan are going to make sure that information moves out very quickly.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Is there anyone online? Sherry, do you see anyone with their hands up that has any questions? Nope. Okay. All right, we will move on to the high school. Does anyone on the? I thought you had something to say, Katie. Just moving the microphone back.
She's reclaiming her time.
Does anyone on the committee have any questions about the high school related to facilities? The boilers. Yeah.
So slide 10, it says the high school boiler is past its functional life. It's 27 years old. What is the functional life, and do we need to think about replacing them, or?
Yes, we actually are.
Okay.
We've applied for a MSBA accelerated program to have the entire heating and ventilation system at the high school replaced. Outside of that, if that does not move forward, we will have the boilers replaced.
Okay.
They are beyond their functional life. Obviously, there's significant issues. We're making sure that their issues are not impacting educational learning. So far, they have not. And that goes to Industrial Burner, our consultant. They've done an amazing job. And our custodians, I have them checking every 2 to 3 hours. So if a boiler goes down, they call me and we get it resolved right away.
Yeah, I mean, these are heroic measures. Just looking at the slides and all the work that's been done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to make sure there's a plan. I know about the MSBA, obviously, but we have to see. I know there's a feasibility study or something that goes along with that.
There is, yep. There's a. It's not a feasibility study. It's a actual design to replace, and then they'll compare that to not replacing.
If we use heat pumps, then we don't need the boilers? Or
That's
would
correct.
Okay.
If we use heat pumps, which is all electric, it's much like Foster, we do not need boilers. They'll probably be mothballed, or maybe one will be a backup. If they don't, if for whatever reason they are not moved forward, we would have to replace the boilers, most likely with a very efficient boiler called a condensing boiler, similar to what's at the middle school now.
I have a question about the water quality and how does that impact the efficiency of the boilers? Does it cause it to rust more? Or make
Yes, it does.
more
Scaling.
or
It's
does that make
called
it-
scaling, and they did find significant scaling in the base of both boilers. They showed it to me. There are options there, and we're weighing those out. So I think what would be ideal is to wait to see if we are moving forward with a replacement project. If not, I highly suggest filtering all the water that moves through all boilers across the entire system, including Foster.
So that could have reduced the amount of time that they last.
If they're brand new, yes.
Okay.
If they're at 26 years old, no. Yep.
Anyone in mind? Audience have questions about high school boilers? We have moved on from thinking positive thoughts about the Foster boiler to thinking positive thoughts about the high school boiler. We were lucky enough with Foster, so I believe we will be lucky enough with the high school.
So just want to acknowledge all of Matt's work and the work of the facilities team. Winter in New England is particularly challenging from a school maintenance standpoint. So all of this work is in addition to snow removal, ice remediation, and so on. And I'm very grateful to Matt and his team for their work. And we will continue to communicate with the community with regard to our facilities needs, and very much appreciate these periodic updates that Matt does for the school committee. I think it's important for transparency and visibility, and just generally keeping the community informed. So thank you, Matt.
I agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you for coming in,
Jonathan, for
Kelly.
being here tonight as well.
And Jonathan, thank you too. Thank everyone.
All right. Next up is we are going to move on to policies. We have second reads, going back to three policies. This is our second read tonight. So I'm moving on to pass them along to Allie.
Excellent. Okay. Continuing on with our J policies, which are our student facing policies. We have 3 tonight, which are focused on the area of health. And thank you to Rebecca Deaton. I don't know if she is still online, if she hung in there. But she's done a ton of work helping us to put together these policies. The first one, JLCA, we just have some minor wording updates in that one. So I'm going to do those 2 first. And then if Rebecca wants to go through the third one. So JLCA is physical examinations. There's one update that was suggested by MASC, and that the subcommittee went through the wording of just that every student will provide evidence of a general physical examination and removing or will be given an examination. So that's the one change in that one. And then the other one, JLCC, the changes to the title from contagious to communicable. The terminology has been changed in public usage and in Mass General Law, so we were just changing that to follow along and keep up to date. So those references, as well as a reference to the Comprehensive School Health Manual, which doesn't currently exist, were removed just to keep that current. So those are the first 2, if anyone has any questions on those.
I don't. Trying to remember, our first read, we had a change.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We changed it from, I think we took out the or will be given.
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
will provide
Yep,
evidence.
yep,
Yes.
that's right.
So
Okay.
this current version does have that change.
Thank you, Karen. Okay. Anyone else any questions?
Would you like me to make a motion on those first 2 and then we'll move to the bigger one? Okay. I will make a motion to accept the updates to JLCA, physical examinations of students.
I'll second. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, policy passes.
And then
changes.
I will make a motion to approve the changes to policy JLCC, communicable diseases.
I'll second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Excellent. And then I will move to our third and final policy for this evening, which is JLCD, administering medicines to students. And this one is a complete rewrite. There were some changes to Mass General Law, and Rebecca, our nurse manager, put in some time to completely redraft this along with the rest of the nursing staff at the school. And this is their proposal to incorporate all of the new changes. Don't know if Rebecca is there and wanted to speak to it, but she's available if you have questions as well.
Is there any questions? Comments? None? Okay. All right. Great. We will take a motion.
And I will make a motion to approve policy JLCD, administering medicines to students.
I'll second. All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allie, for all your work on policy, as always. All right, we will move on to 5.5, which is discuss draft school calendar, which we are going to.
That 5.4. NSDEC.
Look at that. You're going
Jumped in there.
I have to put my glasses on. We're going to move to 5.4, which is to receive your presentation on the 2025-2036 NSDEC enrollment study presentation.
Terrific. Well, thank you. So this evening, I'm going to be sharing the results of our most current NSDEC enrollment study. And NSDEC stands for the New England School Development Council, which is an organization that does these enrollment studies all over New England and has partnership with districts all over New England. Our district last commissioned a 10-year NSDEC enrollment study in 2018 prior to being invited into by the MSBA into their core building program for the new Foster School. And that study provided projections for school years 2019 to 2029. Given that we had some significant pandemic-driven shifts, last year we commissioned a new 10-year enrollment study for 2025 to 2035 that helped us with some of our near-term projections and also helped us with some longer-term projections. Given that since that time, we have had some new factors, including the opening of the new Foster School. We've noted some increases in kindergarten enrollment and some other shifts in private school trends. We decided to do another refresh of that enrollment study this year using our most current enrollment data. Last year, Aisha Opong and I had a chance to meet with the demographer who conducts the study, and they shared their process and protocols for developing these enrollment studies. So in addition to looking at the most current enrollment snapshot, which for us was this year, October 2025, they also consider data such as the number of students attending CTE programs, attending private schools, choicing in and choicing out of a district. They look at our out of district placements of students, and they look at the number of students who are choosing to homeschool. In addition, they consider factors such as birth rates, in and out migration in town, opening or closing of a school. And in our case, that would be the new Foster School. And they do also consider any new development that might be pending, any building permits that have been pulled, and so on. And I will just caution that the enrollment study has most value in years 1 to 3. We have the greatest visibility and the greatest confidence in the enrollment projections for the near term. And but the longer term projections are helpful as we're looking at longer trends. I will note that last year's enrollment projection was fairly accurate. It fell within about 42 students of our total. But I will say the one area of significant variance and often the most challenging number to predict was our kindergarten enrollment. So most of the variance that we saw from the projections was due to the difference in what was projected for kindergarten and our actual kindergarten enrollment, which was higher. And therefore, when they're developing their ratios, they adjust those factors. And so they also noted that our birth rates in Hingham continue to increase. And so that also factors in with an increase of 26 from a previous 10-year average. And again, the projections to study also notes that we do see a migration trend of families moving into Hingham just before their first child enters kindergarten. And so that is factored in as well. And so there is a slide in your packet that describes that birth to kindergarten ratio that shows that the number of kindergarten students who are in town just before kindergarten is significantly higher than those that are actually born in Hingham. So in terms of some of the additional data that we provide, again, we do share our private school enrollment. Our Sherry Robertson, want to thank her for her work on that school attending report. We report our out of district data, choicing in, choicing out, homeschool, and VOTEC numbers. So in terms of the enrollment study process, I will say that in addition to providing this snapshot, NESDEC does also allow for us to submit some additional data in the spring, and they'll prepare an even more refined analysis if there's any new information of note between now and the end of the year. So if we could take a look, Sherry, at the next slide that provides an overview of our historical enrollment. So this will look familiar to the committee from last year, where we noted our pre-pandemic enrollments that hovered in the low 4,000s and saw a dip post-COVID into the high 3,000s and had seen a continued a downward trend. If we take a look at the next slide, NESDEC is anticipating that we have stabilized our enrollment, which is terrific. And based on the data such as the higher than anticipated kindergarten enrollment and the onboarding of the new foster school, the NESDEC is predicting an increase of our K-12 enrollment over the next 3 years, noting a net increase of 117 K-12 students predicted by 28-29 and a total net increase of 417 students predicted by the 2035 to 2036 school year. So that would be that 10-year window. So the next slide I think is an interesting one because it shows an even more nuanced picture of the enrollment trends, noting that the bulk of the increases that we will see over the next 3-year period and the next 10-year period, we are anticipating that to be at the elementary level. And so I'm very grateful for the space that we do have at the new foster school that will provide a cushion for that, and will continue to monitor these trends over time. The next slide provides a similar breakdown, and again, noting that particular increase at the elementary level that is predicted over the next 3 and 10 years. This next slide just presents the more granular data for your viewing pleasure, really breaking it down by grade level bands. Not just looking at K-5, but looking at K-2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and so on. This will help us as we're contemplating appropriate staffing levels and budgeting for the near term and the long term. And then finally, the last slide there again provides a further breakdown. I mentioned that we are anticipating a net increase of 117 students over the next 3 years. But if we break that down by grade level band, we are actually anticipating an increase at the elementary level of 164 students. We're anticipating middle school enrollment to be largely stable, maybe a slight decrease of 6 students, and a decrease of 41 students at the high school level. Over the next 10 years, I mentioned that the NESDEC was projecting a net increase of 417 students over the next 10 years, an 11.8% increase. But again, the large majority of that will be at the elementary level with an increase of 304 students. We do anticipate an increase at the middle school of about 129 students over the next 10 years. And that grade 9-12 by the 10-year mark will be largely stable with a modest decrease of 16 students. So at this point, we do not have any really large scale projects. We have one project that we are monitoring in the Plymouth River district. But if there are any large scale projects and permits pulled, that would significantly impact this. We are also anecdotally noting some changes in private school behaviors in that this year, our middle school reported a decrease in the number of private school applications that they were supporting. And so for that reason, for the varying levels of our kindergarten projections, and if we do have any new development in town, I do think it'll be important to refresh this enrollment study much more frequently than we had done pre-pandemic. So I do think this will likely be an annual or perhaps an every other year process for us as we're looking at these varying trends.
Information. I think we're sitting here at the one of the newer buildings, the middle school, and I think of the other schools, East and Foster. And I think this
this updated data really confirms like the district's long-term planning, and it really remains aligned with future enrollment trends that are coming. And it shows how important the long-term planning is. And I know this is post-pandemic data, but it really does. It's nice to see that the numbers are going up and that the district has the space and the capacity for those students that are coming, not just at the elementary level, but as those elementary schools kids move on to the middle school, that the space and capacity there because of the long-term planning that was done by the district. So I think that's really great.
For example, this year for KIA, for this year, current year, we have 5 KIA preschool classrooms and 6 integrated classrooms. If everybody who applied actually does keep their spot or continues with the application process, for this year, we're looking at possibly 7 KIA classes and 6 pre-K classes. And even if those families decide not to come to Hingham, there are still, like Hingham's preschools, there are still families that exist that will probably need elementary school spots in the next 2 to 3 years. So that data is not data that's, but we actually see that happening in terms of maybe those are COVID babies, I don't know. But we're seeing those numbers coming through already. Okay.
Programming was really appropriately sized.
Yes. Go ahead. 2 thoughts or suggestions. One, I think and I apologize because I don't know how much these studies cost, but I would think that it may make sense to do them every 3 or 4 years rather than having so much time go through. I mean, obviously the pandemic was not something they or us anticipated. And then not for tonight, but I'm just thinking as we go through budget season, because I know there's often conversations around how much enrollment has declined. And I think what we don't often show enough data around is how much we've also reduced staffing to get there. It's not that people are sitting around waiting for students to come. We have reduced a significant amount of staff over the last 5 years as well.
Absolutely. And that will very much be part of our budget presentation this year, particularly at the secondary level. We have cut 27 teachers over the past 3 years at the secondary level as the enrollment declined, but we are reaching a tipping point there. So thank you for that. Tim?
I know we haven't heard much about the therapeutic program in a while. I know you were looking into that. Did these numbers or this enrollment, or I know you said you're happy for the extra space in Foster, either as a carrot to pull people to the district or knowing that we might not have the space. Does this, and I don't expect you to have an answer for this tonight. I was just thinking.
Absolutely. So we have taken a more decentralized approach to our therapeutic program, in that we have added some additional BCBA consultants who have been deployed to schools.
Okay.
And so we have been kind of doubling down on that more decentralized approach for this year. Thus far, it seems to have been well received by the community and has been largely successful, but that will be part of our budget presentation conversation. So,
Now we can. Thank you very much for that. All right, next we can move on to 5.5, which we are going to table. And next is 5.6, which is to discuss a proposed warrant article regarding an increase in the extraordinary capital fund balance and act as appropriate. This is you, Aisha. Would you like to?
Matt's presentation is kind of like a prelude to this, because he kind of explained very, very nicely all the reasons why we need the additional funding. So I won't spend too much time going into that, because I think the last 2 meetings, both the 12-15 meeting and Matt's presentation, clearly has outlined the costs in terms of repairs and some of the issues that we've been seeing, particularly at the high school with the boiler, and him trying to be proactive in terms of trying to get ahead of some of those repairs, some of the cracks in the boilers and the tubes and even some of the RTUs where we've had issues with the HVAC system at the high school. I've given as part of the memo to school committee a breakdown of our costs to date, and some of the costs haven't quite been invoiced yet, but it's just an estimate. I also included an estimate of some of the ongoing repairs that are happening right now. Something that is not captured by this at all is the amount of man hours in terms of Matt's time, as well as the custodians. He spoke about the custodians checking on those boilers every couple of hours to make sure that they're working and everything is all set with that. That's not covered by the extraordinary maintenance account. But in terms of so far we're in January and we still have 5 more school months left to go. And we're almost at the halfway point for the funds that we have already from what we've received. And we see that one of the questions that came through already from advisory was, okay, if we got accepted into MSBA, why are we asking for those funds if we're going to replace the boilers and if we're going to replace the roofs? And this is really just to keep us in the buildings and keep students at school and keep operations going in terms of students and learning and everything else. And we don't anticipate that the roofs and the HVAC systems will be fully replaced until 28, 29. So we have a couple more years to go in terms of that funding. And given the rate of usage that we're going at now, that funding will not last until that time. So it is really just about us being able to make sure that in the event that anything should occur, that we are prepared for that. One of the questions that also came through advisory was that, and I'm just kind of get ahead of it, was we do have the repairs happening right now in our auditorium. So why didn't we prioritize the roofs and the HVAC systems, and we prioritized the auditorium. The auditorium system that was one of the capital items that we had on there for a while as well. And in terms of the auditorium, it's one of those money generating areas for us in terms of trying to help keep the rest of the facilities going and how we utilize some of that revenue to do that as well. So it was important for us to push that repair forward. In terms of that, we also, in terms of the middle school, and I know this is not really specific to this, but it's just a question that came through I'm trying to respond to. The middle school auditorium is widely used and highly used. And by making sure that the auditorium at the high school is repaired, it also balances in terms of the repairs for the middle school as well. So we don't overuse the middle school auditorium either. But all that being said is that those funds are necessary to be able to keep kids in school and to make sure that we're able to keep our roofs repaired and the HVAC systems as well. Okay.
I actually have a question. It's kind of tied to this. So we just talked about the East. How are we covering the East? When we're covering the money that we're using for this, for the extraordinary, for the PRS South High School, we're using those extraordinary funds. And that allows us to free up money in our budget capital for emergencies that aren't considered in the South PRS, for emergencies such as what we just witnessed with what presentation tonight was with East. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And one of the things that Matt and I are working on developing the capital outlay presentation for the 29th as well. And that will also include funds for East too, in terms of that ROTU. So that's something that we're looking at. Mm-hmm. So there are different
many
buckets.
other emergencies that happen.
Exactly.
And this is only covering just a certain.
Right. And just to
bucket.
even point out as well too, even within our operating budget, we also have HVAC lines as well. So that in terms of the HVAC lines within the operating budget would cover things like the east HVAC repairs, and even roofs, because we've had, like, for example, some small roof leaks even at the middle school. They're not as wide or as problematic as those 3 schools that we've identified, but we still do have other repairs for those buildings as well.
I'm going to pause the rest of my questions and let the committee ask their questions.
So we're asking for $500,000 more.
Exactly.
Why not more? Why don't we go for more? Everyone else in this town seems to have these ideas for every project they have. Why aren't the schools asking for more? Why can't we just ask for $1 million? Just throwing it out there.
I mean, do you think 500 is enough
Hold us
because it's 500 in addition, so it is $1 million, right?
Right.
Because we have 500, so we're
Yeah.
asking to go to $1 million.
And
It just seems like this is going to keep going on, and we're going to warrant every year, and everyone's going to say school committee. School's always
Right. I mean, in terms of another year, I think that will take us to another year. Then we can reevaluate. In terms of asking for 500,000, I think it was just being thoughtful that in terms of our needs right now, we could reassess based on the continued repairs. I'm hoping that some of the repairs that we're doing now.
I just want to make sure that the school department's fully funded for any contingencies that happen, as everyone else in this committee is. And I want to make sure that the rainy day fund or these emergency repairs are taken care of. And
I think John, last year we started with 750 or $1 million when we
500.
first started the process.
Yes.
It was more than 500, right?
Yeah.
So we could talk to advisory, and they wanted to.
I mean, advisory board is an unelected, they're unelected. We're the elected officials. I think we could tell the advisory board what we want. And I think we just had enrollment numbers for this school district stating that, hey, people move to Hingham right when their kid's 4 years old to go to these schools. And that's what drives property value. That's what drives this town, why it's so good. And we need to start saying that and saying, hey, the schools need to be fixed. We need more money. And we need to keep saying that over and over and over again, because that's how you have your little nest egg or your $3 million house. That's how you pass that on to your next generation, where everyone's always afraid of, like, oh, God, keep my money, my old. And I just wanted to say that I'm all for giving the schools even more money, because these things are going to keep happening. We have 27-year-old boilers. I mean, he's doing a great job. He's fixing them. But we all know 27-year-old boiler is going to go. We keep putting Band-Aids, and he's doing a great job, but this is going to keep happening. I think we should make a bold statement. We want even more. That's just one school committee's member's opinion.
I definitely appreciate the enthusiasm and support. And so,
30 at night on
yeah.
Monday night.
And so we, I will be the first to admit, we have a very imperfect crystal ball on when things will break and how much they will cost when they do. For me, and looking at the numbers for this year, so we're roughly halfway through, and we've spent about $184,000, and there were a couple of curveballs in there. And so to me, if we take that number and double it to about $400,000, that would get us there with a little bit of a margin for error. So given that our crystal ball is imperfect, all we can do is take the data that we have to date. And I don't think we will be able to predict with extreme accuracy what will break and when, but just looking
Just
at
like the advisory committee can't predict everything.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, it's a very imperfect crystal ball I'm trying to predict. So the only data that we can look at is the data that we have here of, kind of what we spent to date, use that to the best of our ability to make predictions. And so again, very grateful to the committee for their foresight last year and advocating for this extraordinary repair fund. We clearly needed it. And so just wanted to be transparent about the fact that our crystal ball is imperfect. It's very challenging to predict what will break and when. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think particularly given what we heard tonight about the boiler and the boiler. I think this is definitely warranted. I think the one thing, John, for your make it mildly more comfortable, is that this now $1 million extraordinary repair are specific to these projects at the high school South and PRS. So not to be used for other things. I would think, I'm full of suggestions tonight. Thinking of this though, as I was reading through this, I thought, it might be a good idea next year, because we wouldn't have time to do it this year, but to try to establish an ongoing extraordinary capital fund for the schools, not a huge amount of money, but for like extraordinary repairs and things that come up from time to time. I mean,
is that probably about, I think last year or the year before, we included like a $50,000 amount per school as a request on the capital account, where it wasn't like anything labeled in terms of that particular need, but it was just like an open 50,000. But where for the town, the capital outlay funding is so limited that normally it's really just based on known needs.
Well, I don't want it to come out of capital. Right. That's what I'm saying. I think another sort of standing extraordinary repair fund. Okay. So not replacing, not scheduled, just stuff that happens. And I think we make the argument that we have 6 schools, a central office, we've got a bus depot to maintain, we've got buses to maintain. Like there's so much physical plant and property that the school department runs that I think, which is unique in the town, right? The public safety has one building, right? So it may just be, again, something to think about for the future, because I think it would avoid, sort of to John's point, having to rob from Peter to pay Paul, taking money out of capital to now make a repair someplace when we should have just been able to make the repair and do the purchase or the upgrade of something, right? And that may help us ultimately get to a point where we have less wear and tear if we're able to.
Well, it's not too late. Today's the day to put it on the agenda.
It's definitely right now.
If you want to do it, we can do it now.
I think it's a great idea. Sort of like the Special Education Reserve Fund, but not, not with all the, the regulations that go around it, but something like that idea, just in case something comes up. That's a good idea.
I mean, we've definitely had the data to back it up. The amount of types of emergencies, especially within the last couple of years, that just can happen. Even with the long-term planning that goes into place, these things happen, just like with any other type of home maintenance.
Right. Just pass along Matt's presentations.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Michelle's just much more eloquent than I am. I just run on anger and why isn't the world the way I want it to be, the way I think. So.
I've been doing it wrong. That was me 8 years ago.
All right. Anyone else have any other comments, questions, suggestions? Cool. All right.
So the most outlay from you is just to have the select board insert the warrant article into the warrant booklet for town meeting. That will be the vote.
All right. So the motion is to approve the insertion of the proposed warrant article as proposed by the school department to cover extraordinary capital needs.
School department, school funding.
School department.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Second.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, John, for your enthusiasm.
Yes.
All right. 5.7, to approve grants and donations. None. surplus? No surplus. Okay. Okay. Hold on.
It's coming.
Okay. Questions and comments. We have questions and comments. This is the part where anyone can have a question or comment for anything that is not on the agenda tonight. If there's anyone in the audience? The full audience here tonight?
There's literally no one in
in the audience. We have an audience online. Is there anyone in the audience online that has a question or comment for anything that is not on the agenda tonight? Please raise your hand. I do not see anyone.
I should sit in an audience chair. Could you be an audience?
All right. No questions and comments. We will move on to item 7, which is subcommittee and project reports. We will start with Tim, John, Tim.
Yeah. Next Wednesday, the 21st at 5:30, we'll be having an educational programming subcommittee. Over at the school department conference room.
We assume that works.
I'm assuming. Sherry, can you reserve that for me?
Quick update from Climate Action Commission. There is a pilot program with Black Earth that is starting townwide. Actually not townwide. It's starting at the high school, and they'll be picking up food scraps from the high school and making it into compost just to test it out at the first school. They'll also be distributing flyers for people townwide to sign up for Black Earth, which picks up outside your house for food scraps and food waste. Yep, the big little green buckets that you see. And the flyers, for everybody who signs up from the flyer, they will give a $10 donation back to HPS, to the school district. So, you'll see some movement with Black Earth, both at the high school to start to see how that works from the cafeteria. And then also just personally, if anyone's interested, they can make a donation that way.
Anything else? Michelle?
I don't have anything.
Salary negotiations met with HGA Unit E, which is the food services unit, on last Thursday, the 8th, and our next meeting is on January 27th. The Hingham Middle School Council is meeting on January 26th, and Hingham Education Foundation is meeting tomorrow night, January 13th, and their fundraiser in the spring is going to be on April 11th, 2026 at Barrel House C, which should be fun. All right,
great, thank you. All right. Next up is item 8, which is 48 hours, and we do have an item for 48 hours tonight. Aisha?
When we went through the budget last year, I think I was we had gone through and we had discussed the two out of district special education costs related to the MOU and the financial plan for the district for the community. And one of the things that we want to make sure of for this year is, initially I was under the understanding that we had requested those funds ahead of time. But in going back today and meeting with John Coughlin and meeting with the town manager as well, we learned that through our discussions and through going back on looking at the MOU and looking at the warrant booklet from last year, the actual transfer of the funds for the out-of-district tuitions and other contracted costs had not been voted on as a transfer from fund balance into our operating budget. The year before, we did have a vote, and that vote was the vote that the teachers put forward into the $2 million, and part of that went towards the special education costs. But we didn't have a specific vote in terms of the reserve fund transfer vote. So this warrant article puts that forward in terms of an estimate of what we would need in order to balance the budget and it would be a separate warrant article relating to that transfer of funds for the 2026 budget. The way any transfers from fund balance has to be voted by town meeting separately. It's not something that the town managers or the select board or even advisory on their own can move. So that's part of the process that has to happen. In addition to that, what I did was I included the language from the MOU where we discussed the process in terms of how that 2%, over 2% would be funded, and it would be a fund balance transfer, which would need town meeting approval. I did also include in the memo last year's calculation of what that looked like. So far, we're about 5 more months left before the school year ends. And we're a little bit more than halfway through the spending on that balance. So in terms of some of the areas where I see that specialized services is really the big area where we have spending a little bit higher than usual in terms of contracted services. And the main budget item that we've been discussing in that area, and Katie kind of alluded to it tonight as well, was our use of behavior techs and BCBAs in the district this year. That cost has gone up a little bit compared to other years, and that's kind of moving that forward. Another area that we're seeing an increase in cost this year is home and hospital tutors. We have a significant number of students that are hospitalized, or there may be some level of school avoidance sometimes where the kids have to be tutored or have some kind of mechanism for their learning or continued education. That's another area that we're seeing increased cost in this year. In terms of areas where the costs are a little bit lower than usual from our actual to date, in terms of our run rates of that, would be transportation costs, out of district transportation. We're seeing that most of our transportation costs are being covered in-house rather than it being covered as part of an out of district contract itself. And this line item really just feeds into contracted transportation. So the run rate on that to date has been lower than anticipated, but it's still possible. We still have 5 more months to go. So it's just kind of where we are now that I'm giving you an update on. Before we actually put that number into the article, it'll probably be March or April when we'll fill that number in, and I will have a better idea as to how I have a more accurate measure of what that number will be. Okay. Right. So that's one of my questions to the town managers today. And they mentioned that this is kind of similar with a lot of the expenses that they have themselves, whether it be snow and ice or legal expenses or other things that require there isn't a mechanism for it.
So should we proactively put in another warrant article for next year so we're not coming down to town meeting in the middle of the year? I think the town will support this.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty significant risk.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So in terms of that was one of our questions. Katie asked me of that when I came back from the meeting right away. So I definitely understand. That would be a school committee decision. In terms of that, my guess, our thoughts would it be risky to put 2 similar articles on the warrant booklet for this year? But it would be helpful to do it that way in terms of the costs. We wouldn't be looking at costs at the end. At least we'll know where we have and what the budget is for it ahead of time.
I'm just thinking, so the MOU says that any cost over the 2% is to be paid through the reserve fund.
Mm-hmm.
account.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to approve that request, even though the MOU specifically states that that's where the money is coming from.
The MOU is not approved by town meeting.
It's only approved by us.
Is the financial management plan, was the financial management plan not?
No.
I mean, sorry. I'm just gonna, I think, whatever, if town council says this is the way it needs to be done, but I would say then I would absolutely, under zero circumstances, ever recommend the MOU piece of it again, because this is education budget.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think at the floor of town meeting, we need to be talking about extra funds that are needed for special education.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry.
No,
And in fact, wouldn't this be the advisory committees? Wouldn't they be the ones that would be the ones to authorize the transfer of the funds?
Right, but the fund
that's what I would have thought. I never understand.
I thought that was.
I never understand how that fund balance transfer, who's allowed to authorize those
And what
under
happens if this
circumstances they
amount,
can't.
like you're going to give us the best estimate at that point in time, but then that's what's on the warrant. What happens if there's some, I mean, hopefully there won't be, but some change in that amount, or if we're trying to approve a second warrant article for next year now, like how will we even know?
One of the things that was to, it will be an estimate, even if it's April to June. It will be an estimate, and we did discuss that as well.
I guess if we approve it, everybody else has to approve it as well. It's not just us. So school committee would approve it, advisory committee will approve it, select board will approve it as well.
Exactly.
But is there
And the
wording? I'm just looking
MOU,
at
I guess
the-
what the MOU gives us is that it gives us security that nobody should say that they're not going to approve it because they've already agreed to the MOU in principle.
in the warrant article, I'm just looking at the wording now that you're proposing, won't have an actual number amount in it. We'd have
It
an
will.
estimate, but it would.
It will.
It will. That's why that scares me,
Yeah,
because
'cause then if-
the large majority of residents of Hingham, special education doesn't affect them directly. Their child or their, so this is a minority of people in Hingham getting these services and are basically asking the town to make sure, oh yeah, you need to support these kids.
It's for something that
I know.
technically.
And it's also, I mean, the
It's
argument
just scary to me.
Well, the
Yeah, I
argument
agree.
is that yes, most people don't get special education services, but these are legally required services that we
Agreed.
have to pay for
Yeah, I'm
regardless.
just-
So the money's going to come from someplace else in the budget, i.e., general ed. And so that's why people should care about it, because
Agreed.
this money will come from your
It will come
children.
from
If
somewhere.
it will come from somewhere, nothing's.
But I'm just saying the way I see town meeting going,
No, I
it's
agree
a
with
bunch
you,
of people saying, no, don't vote. I don't want to spend money.
Because
It's
they
just-
don't understand. Yeah. And I'm just concerned about
Just-
putting a number down, and then if it changes, we've had town meeting vote on a word number.
But this is FY
It's last year.
6.
So it's.
Yeah, but it'll be.
This
money that's already been
spent.
Yeah.
June.
Right.
Yeah. For the next one.
I just want to say, I'm not comfortable voting on this tonight. Since we're just seeing it and just starting to talk about it. I know the select board can reopen the warrant. I know there's a deadline coming up before our next meeting, right?
The deadline is at 19th.
The 19th, okay.
We can have a special meeting before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Carrie. I think there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
I fully understand that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely. It's just, it's a lot. And, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, why don't we do that? We'll plan for a special Zoom meeting
this week.
Mm-hmm.
Because when's it due? 19th,
The 19th, yes.
which is a holiday.
Yes.
Monday.
Well, it'll be the 20th.
The 20th, okay.
Yes.
around. Calendar.
Say deadline for calendar.
Thursday.
Okay. Just for the
I can do it Thursday. If other people can.
It'll be Zoom, so. Thursday.
Okay.
We do it later.
Yeah, because we have to post for. We post tomorrow.
It'll be a Zoom, right?
Uh-huh. Are you available
I'm available after 4.
after 4?
What day?
Thursday
Yeah.
for Zoom.
Later the better.
Later the better.
Like after
Like
5 or after 6 or
6.
John, how about you?
When you say late? What is late? 6:30 for Zoom.
6 the best.
6 is the best.
But 5:30, I'll make it happen.
No, I'm good with 6.
Is that your meeting for your thing, your students, your kindergarten?
No.
Oh,
No.
yep. What
Yeah.
time is that?
9:45.
How long is the kindergarten?
Oh, the kindergarten night.
You do it after.
That works for me.
Okay.
I didn't want to go to the Bruins game anyway.
I mean, I think, yeah, we can wait on the calendar. I think this is to get it done in terms by the 20th deadline. Is 8 o'clock too late? Does 8 o'clock work for you, John?
That'll work.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right, 8 o'clock. Zoom.
Date.
Date. Okay. Next up is to adjourn to executive session. Before we do that, I'm going to say our next school committee meeting is Monday, January 6th, but it is not. Our next school committee meeting is Thursday, January 15th at 8 p.m. on Zoom, then followed by our next meeting on Monday, January 26th at 6:30 at Town Hall, which will be our budget meeting kickoff. Now, item 9 is to adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session, and I will take a motion.
We'll move to adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purposes of 1, to approve minutes of the executive session held on December 15th, 2025, and 2, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation and act as appropriate if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, which it will, and if the chair so declares.
I so declare.
I will second.
All those in favor by roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Allie?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Carrie? Aye. And I am an aye as well. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.